In Mark 12, Jesus says that the greatest commandment of all is to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind, and with all of your strength. And he also says that the second greatest commandment is to love your neighbor as yourself. Now, I've heard this verse countless times, but only in the past few months have I actually really started to think about what that means. There's a difference between believing in something and actually living it out. How would it look in my life if I actually loved God with my heart, soul, mind, and strength, if I loved him with every part of who I am, and if I actually tried to love my neighbor? When I think about this passage and the intense level of love that God requires of us, I can't help but think that it must be a reflection of God's love for us. The Bible tells us that God first loved us, and if that's the case, then we should love God with all of ourselves, with our heart, soul, mind, and strength, because he first loved us in this very way. When I think about this, I can't help but wonder exactly how that would look in my life if I actually lived my life accordingly. Would I think some of the things I think? Would I do the things I do? Would I say the things that I say? The more I think about this, the more I realize I'm not living my life as I should. I'm not living my life fully committed to Christ. When I realize this, I find that I have to make a change in the way that I'm living my life. I think this is where Jesus' second commandment comes into play. It's not as separate from the first as it may appear. If we truly love God with all of our heart, then our love will also reflect to those around us. We are all made in the image of God. And when we truly understand this, we will begin to treat each other, I think, as brothers and sisters, as family. Now that I'm starting to understand this, I've begun to try and change the way that I'm living. I try to read my Bible more and try to get as much wisdom from it as I can. Try to think about it practically in a way that I can live my life that's more pleasing to God. I'm trying to pray more frequently and about others more. Do I always succeed in this? Of course not. I find myself doing the wrong thing way more than I would ever wish or would ever be right. But I think that Aristotle was right when he said, we become just by doing just acts. It doesn't start automatically just by a decision. We can't suddenly be just. We have to work hard at it and we have to try. And I think when we do things that are pleasing to God, even if it's not often, and even if it's a hard process, God will draw near to us when we draw near to him. Following the first and second commandments that Jesus gives may not be easy. It may be really hard. But I found that I can't just stand by and call myself a Christian if I'm not willing to live a life that reflects this. I would encourage you in the same way. Maybe following God isn't going out into the mission field and doing something incredible. Maybe it's just listening for God's voice in your daily life and doing what he tells you to do. Or maybe it is going out into the mission field, doing something remarkable somewhere. Is that really so terrible? Is that really so frightening? I think God calls each of us in different ways, but in specific ways. And that if we really want to live our lives pleasing to God and loving to our neighbors, we have to be willing to follow his calling in our life. And when we do, I'm convinced that we will find ourselves falling deeper in love with God. My name is Evan Gillespie, and I am second.